that thing really pained him, that he got humiliated when he presented himself for screening as a minister, right? So he said it was Ribadon behind it, that the DSS or SSS cleared him, right? But they said there's a security report about him that he must not be made a minister, and he believes that that came from Ribadon, his supposed friend. He said Ribadon is behind his own travails or what have you. But Rufire, the guy that threatened election observers, remember? In 2019, Mr. Bodybag, right? Again, watch this.
End of the day, Cyril, it is Nigerians, 84 million registered voters, that will line up and vote on the 16th of February. Let us wait for the results. And if the results are not what we expect them to be, there is a process to challenge them. We have election tribunals, challenge them. President Buhari did that 3 times. He never resorted to violence. He never called for violence. He went to the Supreme Court 3 times. Let these other parties that are not used to losing elections. We are used to losing elections. Those of us that came from opposition, we know the pain of losing elections. We know the pain of even elections being stolen from us. But we never resorted to violence. We went through the legal process. Even if it was unfair to us, we accepted the outcome. Let every Nigerian, let us all commit that we have a country, and we have institutions, and we should respect those institutions, allow them to work. If we have a suspicion that the security agencies are biased, as the governor of Anambra complained to the president, raise the flag. Let's give the authorities the opportunity to change them. But don't try to create trouble because your children have all been taken out abroad, or they are studying abroad, and it is the children of ordinary people that will be up in the streets killing one another. This is my appeal. Now, intervention is the higher form interference, where countries intervene militarily. We've done that in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, but we only did so because we had the international community actually appealing to Nigeria to go in and restore order in that place. And it cost us a lot of money and lives, and we never got anything for it. We did it out of good neighborliness. Sure. Okay, those that are calling for anyone to come and intervene in Nigeria, we are waiting for the person that will come and intervene. They will go back in body bags. Okay. Because nobody will come to Nigeria and tell us how to run our country. We've got that independence, and we are trying to run our country as decently as possible. And we know the history of those countries that are trying to teach us these things. We have read their history. We also know at their own stages of development, they went through these challenges. So please, let's work together. Let's advise one another, but don't lecture us. At the end of the day, Cyril, it is Nigerians, 84 million.
El-Rufai, Mr. Bodybag. It was like an emperor. It was as if like a power would never leave him. El-Rufai, the most evil man to ever rule Kaduna, no joke. Thousands, tens of thousands of lives were lost in the hands of this murderer. Power was so intoxicating to him. About El-Rufai will use the same DSS to pick people up for criticizing him on social media. And this is not just arrest them and sue them. They will pick people up, lock them up for months without trial. Torture. Today, El-Rufai is now one of the internally displaced politicians in that contraption. He's taking a fight to Tifnumbu because Tifnumbu used him and dumped him. Now, El-Rufai, presenting himself as somebody on the side of people, 2 days ago joined TikTok. According to him, he wants to mingle with the younger generation, the Gen Z and the Gen X, a Gen Alpha, where he can possibly use his old trick of trying to sound like intelligent and patriotic, an evil man to the core. a friend of his was picked up 2 days ago, and El-Rufai was on TikTok to talk about the abuse of power, how people have been like arrested by his own now sworn political enemy, Ubasani. Oh, he made a short video about that, by the way. Watch this.
Fellow compatriots, yesterday our colleague Jafar Ibrahim Sani, our former commissioner, was abducted on the streets of Kaduna, arraigned before a magistrate without any charges or first information report, and immediately remanded at the Kaduna Correctional Facility or Kaduna Prison. Jafar's only offense is that he has joined the SDP, thereby defecting from the APC. The intolerance of democratic opposition is unacceptable. The Kaduna State government cannot be allowed to continue to misuse the security agencies for this purpose. Let us all stand up and fight for our democracy. Thank you and God bless. Fellow compatriots.
ẹni òfò ni ẹ ṣòfò láyé ẹ tún ṣe lálìkìyàmọ ẹ̀yin rádaràda wọ̀nyí.
Ẹni òfò, an unfortunate soul. So the same El-Rufai, who is now on the other side, of course, is now complaining about people using the police or DSS, federal agents, to pick up their political enemy or enemies. Something that was like a stock in trade of this little finger, right? El-Rufai. So now that El-Rufai, even though it is late, it's pretty much like late, okay? He is telling us what we already knew, right? That Tifnumbu no go any real school, forged his own certificates. He was a drug dealer, heroin trafficker in Chicago in the late 80s and early 90s before he ran away to Nigeria to go and join politics and ran for office to become a senator representing Lagos West in 1992, which also gave him an opportunity to actually make a deal with the feds where he forfeited 460,000 US dollars. The Nigerian Supreme Court, the Nigerian courts were presented with this evidence. What did they say? They said, because it's been a long time ago, Tifnumbu, the drug dealer, the American assets can indeed continue to parade himself as your president. So what is it now that El-Rufai want to tell us that we didn't know? This is just to let you know that these guys who are using religion to hoodwink the gullible ones, hoping that because you are a Muslim and they are Muslims, or they claim to be Muslims, therefore you have something in common. No, you don't. These guys don't have any religion. And if for any reason, if, religion indeed, right, is, it's something that people should, except those who have actually like repented, or religion should be something that should possibly purify people in a way that you can say, oh, yeah, they were sinners, but now they have like repented, and because these ones have nothing to do with religion. They are as evil as what they told you about evil. So El-Rufai, you can keep all this coming, but that will never change him from who he is. El-Rufai, an evil man that became a governor, divided his own people, monitored the massacring of his own people, and he justified same. El-Rufai, the man that was dividing kingdoms in Kaduna, breaking apart kingdoms, communities where people were bonded together, he was breaking them apart, renaming some of them as emirates in that same Kaduna, right? A man that, oh God. If, all the things we read in these religious books, where when God became so upset and so angry with some certain people, he destroyed them. Like outrightly. If that is something that, can repeat itself, somebody like El-Rufai should actually perish. And not just him, including his entire household. His wife is so evil. His children are, oh my God. And he himself, right? God knows the kind of heart or soul he gave this soulless, mofo that is now running around to try to now tell us that the druggie that majority of Nigerians rejected, but they managed to regain, who now has the power, consolidating that power, that druggie that we knew before now, is one new thing that El-Rufai want to tell us about Tifnumbu. So I'm waiting for, is currently pushing that he should be arrested. And I want to see that happen so that we can see how this whole thing can implode. So right now, El-Rufai doesn't mind if you are an infidel. Right now, all that matter is that let us come together and let us punish this man that I gave everything to, only for him to disgrace me, right? This way. That's the El-Rufai's prayer. Oh, talking about the man himself. Tifnumbu, the druggie that used and dumped El-Rufai. Remember I'm gonna have a video because I kept this. Another person who has joined is SDP. Is this guy, Abacha's gunman, Al-Mustafa. That's Al-Mustafa. So he's waiting for others to come and join him now, by the way. So we shall monitor that once they start joining. Mind you, there is a report that Peter Obi himself is on his way back to PDP. Have you heard that? No, he hasn't said anything about that, but he is. But we shall see. Time shall tell. Yesterday, we discussed the congressional hearing, the U.S. Congress hearing on the killings of Christians in Nigeria by the Islamic jihadists, Fulani terrorists, Lakurawa, as well as the ISWAP and Boko Haram. The killings that Nigeria and Nigeria authority continue to downplay. The killings that has seen the Nigerian government compensate the killers, the murderous Fulani terrorists, compensated while their victims remain in squalor, living in makeshift, inhabitable, abandoned schools as victims of the Fulani terrorism in Nigeria. Christians persecuted, slaughtered, while the Nigerian media continue to report it as farmers-others clashes. The American Congress has now recommended that Nigeria should be sanctioned. But somebody like myself is asking the US Congress to please point out the criminals behind it and get them indicted, arrested, and tried for their crime against humanity. So that's him yesterday. Because a bishop from Makurdi in Benue State was given the platform to tell them the story, tell them their experience and what have you. So that same yesterday, Tifnumbu invited some bishops, Anglican bishops, into the Earth's Old Rock, where again, in his Bulaba, Bala Blue, states, he told them that he has saved Nigeria because in the last 50 years, those before him, they have been mortgaging the future of Nigerians and generations yet unborn, the money they are paying on a subsidy. He saved Nigeria from ruin. And people said that he is a bigot, right? In his Lagos urbanization agenda, which is filled with his stooges from Lagos. Tinubu told the Anglicans, right, the bishops, that, again, living in denial as usual, downplaying these atrocities of the Fulani terrorists in that contraption. Tinubu played it down by saying, it is not as bad as it's been reported. And in fact, he has managed to save the contraption from a total ruin and bankruptcy. That those who call him a bigot, how can he be a bigot when his wife is a pastor in a Redeemed Christian Church of Faith? He didn't even say RCCG. So I'm going to take you to that boring part before we get to other interesting parts tonight, okay? So let's go and hear what Tinubu had to share with these Anglican bishops that honored his invitation, to make it look more or less like he want to talk about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria as it is being raised at the global stage. But here is the chart. Watch.
Few years. Yes, it's good to learn from the lessons of the past to really navigate today and move forward. I met you when I was contesting, and by the grace of God, with your support and prayer, I'm today the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, a great country in the continent of Africa. I could see what you are saying, but without us building an investment as citizens and leaders of the society, there's no way we can build a nation. Citizenship by investment, and this is what you are preaching. Yes, the fuel subsidy was hard, tough for me, but it's a hard choice that Nigeria must face if we are not going to bankrupt our country, force disintegration and indebtedness, but the future of our children yet unborn. We were spending their investment. We are spending their rights. And poverty has no religious basis. It has no religious connotation, no identity. It affects all. And we must fight it together. I've been a good example as the governor of Lagos State. I've returned all the religious mission schools. When we look at the possibility of a committee, because when you look at the constitutional democracy, it is tough for its twists and turns. Where are those schools being? No, they are in the hand of the state government, subnationals. They are not federal institutions. It's just pretentious, caliber designation when you say this is a federal school. It's a Nigerian school. We have to be more dedicated as citizens. We have to invest in ourselves. I'm glad you mentioned the tax reform. That's part of the investment opportunity. Citizens must be able to build their nation. This insecurity, everyone is affected, Christian, Muslim alike. and I have no religious behind. But I won't be a bigot. My wife